look at everyone here.
It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for joining. I am going to do my usual test because I do not.
We're still working on trust issues. It's all right. It
that-
keeps me in business.
Oh, man. Good on ya.
But it's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
So while Danay does the inevitable, is this actually live? Even though we can see that it says live.
Yeah.
Let me just introduce myself. I'm Sheila Williams. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you want. And if you're watching on the replay, feel free to do the hashtag replay. It's always fun. To my right, your left, possibly. You don't really know how these things work on cameras. But this is Danay and Novoa.
Yes, I am Danay Novoa, and look at that. We have an indication that we are live.
Look at that.
Woo! So
Confirmed it again. No issues at all. And within the first minute. So it's awesome. So,
excellent. So what are we going to talk about today?
what do you want to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about my journey with clutter. I think that's an important one. I think people have experienced that.
It's true.
So, but there's an A. Welcome.
Okay.
I get excited when people hop on, and Sheila's like, "Don't be too crazy here."
It's all good. People come and go. You're welcome. Check out what we're talking about. Say hi in the comments if you feel like it, but know that there's no pressure. Danay is going to talk about her journey.
My journey about clutter,
Yeah.
and there was I meant to look up her name. There's someone in the Hay House community of authors, something Richardson, not Cheryl, her sister.
Okay.
Yes, Katie,
It doesn't matter.
Carrie Richardson.
There we go.
There it is. Anyways, she talks about clutter in a particular way that kind of made me think, like, this is neat. People think of clutter as in, physical, tangible things, like in a specific place, like your home.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an apartment or a house and then you have like tons of clutter everywhere, then you end up thinking to yourself, this is untidy, this isn't organized. It feels kind of closed in as a space. But she talked about beyond physical clutter. She talked about energetic clutter, mental clutter, emotional clutter. So when I think about clutter, I'm not thinking about it in the tangible sense, though it includes it. I'm thinking about within me, energetically, do I feel cluttered in any way, shape, or form? Mentally, all the time.
It's true.
All the time. I live in my head. Like, I've got a penthouse up here, and there's so many like fun little gimmicks and like toys and stuff up here. Whenever I get the opportunity to go in my head and analyze the heck out of everything, I do it. And that keeps my mind very, very cluttered. And then that, as a result, creates this energetic clutter around me. There are some people who will have emotional clutter, and emotional clutter is an interesting thing. So I think about emotional clutter, and I'm new to this stuff. I just found it fascinating when I heard about it. So to me, emotional clutter is having so much of a burden on you emotionally, usually lower frequency. I don't think somebody's like, I have way too much joy in my life, So I'm thinking if you feel overwhelmed or anxiety or stress or whatever it may be, but an abundance of it, because we all have an abundance of everything, I think that can weigh on you as well, and that can prevent you from a whole bunch of things. Then there's just the physical clutter of actually having your space contain things you no longer need. And people like to look at everything as being energy. And when you look at things as energy, you can say that things will possess either active sort of energy or more dormant sort of energy. And like books come to mind. A lot of us like to, I'll use the word hoard, but we don't. But a lot of, yes, thank you.
Collect is softer.
Collect is good, thank you. So a lot of us like to collect books because we get so excited about having new things, new books. And hi, Mom. So we like to have new things and new books, and then you think, have you read all of the books that you have? Probably not. But then you think, I should buy more books. And we won't take that sort of stance with everything in life, but if we did, oh my God, just think about how much clutter or constriction that you would feel. So when I think of clutter, what does it have an impact in? Aside from like keeping you sort of constricted and an inability to allow new things in, I think it keeps you out of the now
Mm-hmm.
because you're so focused on this burden, energetic, tangible, emotional, mental, that you're not focused on what's going on right now. Now, somebody could argue, hey, I'm focused on my clutter at this very moment, but what is it bringing up in you? Is it bringing up a sense of, sorrow or pain or sadness or even shame? Or is it building up some sort of motivation or inspiration about it? And I personally like to have things. Now, I don't have a lot of things, and I have a small space that I live in. This is like a vacation sort of thing right now. um, but I've been on a journey myself to declutter in ways, and I hit a lot of blocks, a lot of resistance, a lot of obstacles. And for me, I was focused on the things. I wasn't focused on the internal aspect of me and why I was holding on to these things. Now, anybody who's on a spiritual journey will know that a constant within your life is change,
Mm-hmm.
is evolution, is shifting. So when you have something like clutter around emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, or energetic, you think about it in a way that says that you're going to continue to grow. But having something that weighs you down like this clutter, it's like an anchor,
Mm-hmm.
not a positive one, because it keeps you uh, attached to these things. When, Wayne Dyer said before he passed away, the only thing that he needs for when he dies is his suit, but the holes cut into pockets, because he doesn't need to take anything with him,
Mm.
right? So we don't need physical things, but we don't need the emotional clutter. We don't need the mental clutter. We don't need the energetic clutter, though we hold on to it because I think in some ways it provides familiarity and security. And for me, I spent years holding on to things and wasn't ready to shift, wasn't ready to change, wasn't ready to let go. I tried a number of times and had a number, like I could say an army of people assist me. And I've got a voice in the back of my head now. I'm very transparent with this stuff. A voice in the back of my head is saying like, well, you're making it sound like you're in one of those episodes of Hoarders. I definitely am not. I could move about my apartment perfectly fine. I could do all sorts of things. I just felt weighed down by all the stuff I had collected over the years that I've lived in the place that I'm living. And it frustrated me. So every single time I would try to clear this clutter, I would then think to myself, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. As an academic or former academic in some ways, I would collect a lot of paper.
Mm.
Paper is like treasure in the academic world. Journal articles, old dissertation or old theses, anything like that, writing, knowledge, gold. So I would hold on to these things. I even held on to like old university, undergrad, grad school notes. And luckily, most of that stuff was at my mother's, and she threw it all out.
Thanks, Anna.
Yes, thanks, Mom. And that was fine. I was able to unattach myself. But why was I resisting moving on with other things? And even though I've had people come in and like families helped, friends have helped, and like there would always be a wall that's hit, and it wouldn't jump because I wasn't ready
Mm-hmm.
to do it. You know, Somebody could say, you know, I need all of this money to do X, Y, and Z. And somebody could be like, well, here's all the money you need. And you could be like, oh, no, thank you. I'm good. I'll figure it out.
Yep.
You know? So when we have these sort of patterns where we're creating this attachment to something that feels familiar, some sort of clutter, physical, emotional, energetic, doesn't matter. We're holding on to it because it feels familiar, it feels safe, and it allows us to feel some sense of security in a world that's always shifting, always changing. You know, I wouldn't let go of these things. And then I started to embrace the fact that, you know, every now moment, every new moment, I'm new. I'm like regenerated into a new, any sort of past experiences, past beliefs. I can choose to continue to hold on to them, or I can choose to let them go. Not easy, but not hard either. So, the thing that I wanted to talk about today was this experience of holding on to clutter. And I'm very grateful and appreciative of the people who are in my life who have come and physically assisted me, and people who have, you know, energetically, lovingly have supported me, saying, like, you got this, you can do this, just bit by bit. But I have an issue of not going too specific. I'd be like, okay, what am I going to handle today? You know, all my books. And it's like, well, not a section of the books, right? Like, I think too big. And I think if you just break it down into smaller, manageable pieces, but understand why, first and foremost, why are you holding on to the things that no longer serve you? Why do you hold on to it? What does it fulfill within you that you can't let go? And for me, I realized it was safety, security, it was a home base. Mm-hmm. It was things that were mine so that if I lost everything, I had something. And I always have something. I'm always provided for. You know, she's a big inspiration. People don't, if you're tuning in and you don't know anything about Sheila, she lives nomadically. So she doesn't have things. She has whatever she needs to travel to places, clothes on her back, the odd little trinket thing. But she's come into my life and motivated me, inspired me, and, you know, challenged me to then let go of things. And suddenly, instead of moving inches like I was doing with other people, I'm like miles.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And I'm getting rid of boxes and boxes of things, lots of clothes. I still have stuff that I want to get rid of. But boy, does it bring up a whole bunch of things in me. There's that little part of me that starts kicking and screaming, going, what the hell are you doing? This is our sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. We might need that.
We might need that. Oh my God.
What happens if we need that? We can't get rid of it.
No, what if, you know, I had a sandwich maker. I love sandwich makers. And she was like, get rid of this. And I was like, okay. And the next day I see a meme that's like, sandwich makers. You use them like once every like 3 months, but when you use them every day for like 3 months. And I went, you're right.
I should have kept it.
I should have kept it.
Let's be clear, I did not tell her to get rid of the sandwich maker. I made very soft suggestions, yes, and things were put in maybe categories and consideration categories, and there was scaffolding, to be sure. So
yeah, 100% scaffolds, tons. But I'm curious, Sheila, I want you to share your experience in releasing, because you used to live in a home and
yep,
had things.
Lots of stuff.
And
lots of books, lots of trinkets, lots of everything.
Yeah. So what was it like in your journey, whatever you're, you know, willing to share? And now what is it like? Like, I bet you feel a lot lighter.
So much lighter, yes.
So.
Well, as you said, it does need to be what you're ready for. And, you know, I think it's so important. What you said very close to the beginning, I think, is one of the most important things of being in the now moment versus looking back or looking ahead. Because usually, at least in my experience, when you are looking at an object, for sure, you are usually keeping it because of looking back in the past, who gave it to you, where did it come from, what did it represent, or into that future of, you know, the what if I might need this someday aspect. And when you start to literally hold it in your hand and say, well, what about right now in this moment? Like the good old spark joy question for yourself, or to put everything out at once and say, well, do I really need 4 black t-shirts? You know, okay, one is v-neck and one is crew and one is long sleeve and one is a tank top, but really, do I need this? Like, is this offering any value or benefit to my life? And that's where I started, was just to start culling and bringing things down, like closets, like bookshelves, and small steps, and then those just were able to get bigger and bigger. So I think that that helped me a lot. I also did make a big move. So I had been picking away at it, and the same kind of thing, like university papers from when I was in elementary school that had just never gotten taken out of a box. It just kept getting moved for 30 years, 40 years. And realizing I don't want to move this stuff anymore. I don't want to pay to store it. I don't touch it. I don't value it. I don't need it. And if there's something that I do need, I could go buy a new one. I could borrow someone's. I could rent it. I don't need to have it be in my kind of stay with me forever side of the fence. And when you start to look at each aspect of every single thing, you realize how little you actually do find joy in this moment, and how much you actually do need. And it's been fun for me because I do live nomadically, even to give advice to people who come to me for advice of, you know, how do you pack to go away for 6 months? And I talk about things like, well, I have 5 pairs of underwear and 3 pairs of socks. And people are aghast, like, I couldn't do that. Like, I couldn't. How could you possibly make do with that? And it's like, I've got the small pair of socks and the nice thick pair of cozy socks and a pair of wool socks for hiking. Like, you really can be just fine with that much. And but it's a big shift when you're used to having a whole drawer full of socks and a whole drawer full of undies, because that's, like you say, that safety, security. You always have a choice. You know you're never going to run out, whatever the story might be. But yeah, you know what? It turns out you don't need too many things, because washing clothes exists, whether you have a washing machine or not.
Yeah, and I love the difference in perception in this, because when she was telling me, I took a trip to Vancouver recently and met up with Sheila there, and the thing that she was saying, okay, you only need to bring X amount of this, that X amount of that, etc. And I went, what the hell?
Yeah, hard no.
Yeah, I was like, no.
I'm gonna have a full check bag and a carry-on.
I need, you know, underwear and socks for every single day.
Every day.
I need multiple shirts.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll wax on the pants a bit and wear pants a few times.
Yeah.
But
So
I was
4
like,
pairs of yoga pants, all black. They all look the same. And we had access to a washing machine. But anyhow,
so
sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, that's fine. But the idea is, like, when she said that, I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. And then, like, because I started packing earlier, I then started to ease a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did I come with everything I thought I would? No.
That's true.
I did cut down quite a bit. And I challenged myself to cut down a little bit. When I used to travel before, I wouldn't bring very much, but I wouldn't be gone for, 2-3 weeks at a time. I would just be gone for a handful of days, and I'd be like, yeah, I have exactly what I need because I'm only gone for those set of days. But if you went through your house or your home and asked yourself, do I actually need these things? You're going to have a little voice that says, yeah, but what if this scenario happens at this time? And it's like, you want to be the person that's like the scout that has everything you need, that says, like, that talks about this idea. It's like, oh my God, I could really use, a pocket knife and a set of tweezers and like a headlamp and all these things. And it's like, hold on, I got it. Or somebody have, tissue.
Yeah.
No, I got that too. And it's like, it makes you kind of feel valued in a sense where everybody's like, I know Danay has these things because she carries her like damn home with her.
She was like a turtle. Like, and it was an interesting point, though, wasn't it? Which might be not on topic here, but to realize that, because I used to do the same thing of being that person. Oh, do you need a Band-Aid? Oh, do you need a juice box? Oh, do you need a wet wipe? Like, sure, I got it right here. And it did provide me with some, just that validity of my value of being around. Like, you could count on me because you wouldn't have to bring it, because I would have two of everything and I would be happy to share. So it is curious sometimes how that can play into why we tend to carry so much with us. So,
Yeah, it creates.
maybe off topic.
Well, no, I think it's very much on topic. It creates. Everyone likes to feel needed in some capacity.
Oh,
So the cats are fighting in the background. That's gonna
playing,
be
but still,
so, yes, they're very playful.
All right. So, Danay, what is your point? What would you like to wrap up with a bow? Like, what's the value of going through that process?
Well, it releases things. I'm inviting new things into my life, but I feel definitely lighter. And every time I walk into my apartment, I feel like, who lives here? Because, and I did that one day. I was like, who lives here? Because it wasn't even about the space opening up. The space is the same, but the energy felt different.
It feels brighter. Like, just how do you know it? The light is the same. It feels brighter, and you can feel the air takes up more space. That's so nice to walk into your place now.
Yeah, and like I've done work on it since, and then I was preparing. Anytime I have a guest show up, I go and try to prepare as much as possible, but it wasn't necessarily enough in that capacity, but I wasn't ready. I needed help, and I've always needed help along the way. I think that brings up an interesting point that we can sort of wrap up on, is the idea of like a resistance to asking for help.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Because people have shame with things. Again, my clutter had nowhere near any of those like exaggerated episodes of things on reality TV. Like, people could come and go. I just wasn't satisfied with it. And it wasn't like I live a minimalist life either. But I needed to get rid of things. And I started to feel a purge. The more you do this inner work, which really comes down to loving and accepting yourself exactly as you are, because the more you do that, the more you're compelled to shift, to change. If you say, I have all these things I need to fix, all these things I need to heal, that creates shame. That creates like that you're a work in progress. I think we're all masterpieces. We're miracles in form, legitimately, because of you think of the magic associated within just the human form, but then add the personality, add the soul, the spirit, the light, exactly all of those things, and it's pure magic. And if we don't see it, then we prevent ourselves from continuing our growth. But if we can see what are we doing right and what would we like to expand on, not even improve, you're becoming newer every moment, and you get to choose whether it's something like clutter or loving yourself more. It's all the same thing. We can pick topics, but it's always going to come down to self-love. It's always going to come down to self-acceptance. But not being able to ask for help creates a whole other energy of resistance, because by not asking for help, you're essentially saying, I'm not worthy of anybody else's assistance. I'm not worthy of changing this in my life. Everyone has a set of skills and expertise. Like, Sheila and I are running a course right now that talks about resources and the resources available to you that you have within yourself. Looking at something like abundance, yes, it's money, but it's also resources. It's also connection. It's also, what you're surrounded by in your day-to-day experiences. But when you're connected to someone and they have a set of skills and resources that they're happily wanting to share with you, you saying, I don't deserve it because I'm not willing to ask for help and express a vulnerability. I kept asking for help. I just needed somebody who had gone through something similar and knew how to handle me. I think you've been called the Danay Whisperer with this stuff, as being able to encourage me. Like, I make jokes about, you made me do this, you made me do that, because it adds humor to things. And I can act like a little child that's like tantruming and saying, no, I don't want to give this up. And some of the things are most ridiculous. I had a backpack from high school, and I love that backpack. It was falling apart.
Mhm.
And I duct tape it and like all sorts of things. Like it bedazzled with duct tape. And it was so great. It was versatile. It had the perfect size. I could carry so many things with it. And people, a number of people, there were a lineup of people who said, get rid of that backpack. And I said, no. Essentially, it was like a security blanket.
Yeah.
And eventually I tossed it out. Like, I wouldn't even donate it. I tossed it out, and wow, that little one in me went, what the hell are you doing? You know? So that backpack is gone to better places. And as a result, the stuff that I've let go of, it gives me sort of this hope and this knowing that I can continue to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily have to make any more changes in my home, but I probably will. Because I think we have like an energy, aside from like our own soul energy, I think there's an energy that kind of surrounds us on what we allow in and what we don't. And I think we hold on to stagnant things.
Yeah.
Old books, old things, things that we don't even use. Like I have things in there that I'm like, every time I've held on to it, I'm like, what if I need this in like 6 months? It's been 6 years.
Yeah.
It's been 12 years. You're not using it. But I will still argue. But what if?
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want to be unprepared, you know? But venturing into the unknown, shifting your life and becoming a newer version of you, that's scary. Why not ask for help? Why not call in the support? Why not allow people to help you expand? Because you're more than willing, if you're listening to this, you're more than willing to help others out. And I guarantee you, you would, you know, drop whatever you're doing to help somebody who was going through a similar situation to you, whatever it is. But you wouldn't stop and ask anybody for help, because I'm happy to help people, but I don't want to bug anyone to help me. And just think what the potential that you're missing out on in some capacity. It'll always come back. It'll always be there. You don't ask for help the first time. It's not like you can't ask for help ever again. It's always there for you. But just think, the earlier you ask for help, the earlier you get to expand on these things. So yeah, that I think are my thoughts. Do you have any additional thoughts before we close it off?
There's a lot I'd love to discuss,
Well, go
but
ahead.
I think for today that's a really great, just great sprinkling.
Were you going to make a mental note of things?
I can rewatch this live video and
Yes,
jot
'cause
down
there
all
will
kinds
be
of
a
notes.
replay. Yeah. So, and in the works right now, Sheila and I are going to create an event. I think it's going to be 2 days. We're playing with it, but it's having to do with releasing the old and inviting in the new. And Sheila thought of a very, very clever name for it. So, so if you're curious, like, and you want more information about this upcoming experience, event, workshop, drop a note in the chat or in the comments. I'm very good at this. Drop a note whether you're watching the replay or watching live. If you're curious, it's going to be an exciting course, and we're going to talk about my journey more expansively, and probably Sheila's as well, and talking about the things that have come into play and the opportunities that have happened. Because as soon as I started moving things, opportunities started coming in like you wouldn't believe. Out of the blue, things I never expected, things I couldn't imagine, just because I made the decision to shift more.
See, and that's where I think there's so much value to have a longer, more in-depth conversation, because usually when you're hanging on, whether it's the material goods or the emotions, you're gripping it so tightly, nothing else can actually come through. There's no flow of energy. But when you do soften that grip and you allow things to move out, whoosh, like there's so much ready and waiting. It's just been waiting for you to be ready. And you're like, okay, I'm ready. And like you say, opportunities, conversations, money, whatever it is, experiences, they just kind of came at you like gangbusters. So like, how much fun is that? Super fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
In so much of this, like I was so surprised to see what was coming my way, and that's kind of inspiring me to do more.
Yeah.
Because the image I kind of get is when you hold on to things, like I have been and had been, it's like you create within. So life is like a river. It's just a current that flows in a particular direction, and you can choose to go with the flow or the current of the river. You can go an upstream. Like it's your choosing. But then I've gotten this imagery that says when you hold on to things so tightly, you're not only trying to, swim upstream or whatever it may be, you actually created a dam. And that dam has stopped the flow of the water. So there's no stream to even try to paddle. Or it may be very, very low. It might be drained out in some capacity, but the second you start to move things, it's literally like taking bricks away and allowing more energy, more water, more love into your life. And you don't have to make big changes. Whatever it is, if it's clutter, if it's, on the journey to your expansion or loving yourself more, clutter is just an example that can relate to anything. But whatever it is, all you have to do is the smallest little step. The smallest little thing. If it's decluttering, pick one thing in the next week that you don't think you need at all and donate it, sell it, give it away, whatever you want to do with it. And that's it. And you'll find just a shift within that removal of that one thing. And you can even create piles. I think that was very helpful. I've had people create these piles for me. The maybes, the donate, the throw out, the whatever it may be. And I would grab something and I would feel into it energetically, and then I would put it in one of these piles. But the maybe was pretty big. but it gave me like sort of a protective barrier to say, I know this is going to shift in some capacity, but I don't have to make the decision right now. So even if you take things and put them in a maybe pile and then feel into them each day, magic. So on that note of magic and shifts and change and all the excitement, I know whoever is watching this was ready to hear this and that it'll land. And if it doesn't, just watch it all over again. Because we're awesome. And you're awesome for watching and tuning in. Thank you for the chat. And the mosquitoes are telling us it is time to end this live. But love to everyone. Thank you, Sheila, for being part of this. And then if we do a live in the future, depending on where Sheila is, because she likes to travel, I have to figure out how to have 2 different windows. But,
More to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to doing the next live from different locations and seeing how things go. But lots of love to you all. Thank you for joining, and can't wait to see you for the next one. Again, if you're interested in this small course that we're doing, just drop a note in the comments, and we'll be eager to share the link with all the details. So have fun, move something, but don't put too much pressure on yourself, and ask for help. All right, lots of love, everyone. Okay, bye.